College athletics is big business. With the TV contracts, the merchandise, and all the crazy fan hype that surrounds big-name university programs, it can be easy to forget that student athletes are actually there to go to college and earn degrees. At the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, our student athletes have a strong tradition of winning in the classroom as well as in competition. I'm Chuck Cantrell, and this is Metro Campus, the UTC Report. Today we're talking Chattanooga Mocs athletics. So come back from Metro Campus, the UTC Report, and go Mocs. Hi, and welcome back to Metro Campus, the UTC Report. I'm Chuck Cantrell. It's football time, not only in Tennessee, but across the country. At almost any time of day, on any day of the week, you can find a football game either being played or being broadcast. Little league, high school, college, professional, Americans love sports, and college athletics means big money. For the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, we are proud that our Chattanooga Mocs are the hometown favorites. Nestled smack dab in the middle between some SEC powerhouses, the Mocs are stronger than ever and fans are donning the blue and gold. The football Mocs have been energized in recent years with the hiring of head coach Russ Huesman. Despite head coach changes in both men's and women's basketball, the programs did well and fan support grew. The Wrestling Mocs dominate the mats. The Mocs are strong competitors in every sport, and our student athletes compete well in the classroom with a higher average GPA and graduation rate than the general student population. One man who is extremely proud of these achievements and still relatively new to Mocs athletics is David Blackburn, Vice Chancellor and Athletics Director at UTC. This year will be David's second season overseeing Mocs athletics, but he's no stranger to the region, having spent many years with the University of Tennessee Volunteers. David has brought a wealth of experience and knowledge to Chattanooga, and we're happy to welcome him to Metro Campus. David, thanks so much for being with us today. So let me ask you, what brought you to Chattanooga? You had a great job, you were happy. How come you came to Chattanooga?
It's a great question. I grew up about an hour north of here, and my father originally was from Bledsoe County, which is a county up the road, and so I knew a lot about Chattanooga, and I'd seen Chattanooga evolve through the years, and it was just a place that I felt like would be wonderful to call my home, and I had the ability to run a department, and I wanted to do that. I'd spent so many years dealing with other aspects of an athletics department. I want to run the department, and being raised close to here and being up the road, I had the ability to see what had been done down here and what the potential is, and most importantly, identify with the culture. And so when the job came available, it was a no-brainer for me to try to secure it, and we did. And I'm so thankful that I'm here, and it's a place that we're proud to call home.
So let's talk a little bit about your background. How did you get into sort of like the athletics world?
I got into it very non-traditional. I played football and played tennis. My father was a coach. My whole family's coached, but I got into it by way of tennis, of all things. And I played tennis at Tennessee Tech, but in the back of my mind, I knew I wanted to coach or be involved in football to some degree because of what my father had done. I had the fortune of going to Tennessee as a student manager. I left what I was doing athletically, became a student manager. One of the best things I'd ever done because it gave me the chance to work in the department. I had the ability to be a student assistant under the then head coach Johnny Majors, and so from that point on, it was history from there. I got into the guts, if you will, of everything we did athletically as it related to major college football, and one thing led to another. But I got into it by being a manager, then a student assistant, and then hanging out and learning the industry primarily through football, and then it led me to other things as it relates to raising money, development, and general progression of athletics.
I tell you, well, you can't talk athletics without getting into some specific sports, but right now I want to talk a little bit about your vision and what is your goal for the Chattanooga Mocs athletics program?
Well, it's a great, we talk a lot about, first off, what's our mission? And I believe in very short, simple, concise missions, and our mission is to equip student athletes. That's what we do. That doesn't necessarily mean to play football or tennis or whatever sport, but also equip them to be successful in the classroom, in being a parent, being a husband, being a wife, whatever it may be. But we want them to be successful, number one. The vision for athletics is, as we equip them to be successful, is that we expect them to be excellent at what they do. We have a very simple slogan that we use. Basically, it's show up, give effort, and be respectful. And those three things have always served me very well. We want to convey those to our student athletes, but we want to do that first. Secondly, I think Chattanooga is a wonderful town. and all the resources we have here and the great things that has happened over the last 15 or 20 years, it gives us a chance to be very successful here because we're in such a geographically perfectly located school that I think we can raise funds and get people interested, improve our footprint in terms of what our facilities look like, how we recruit student athletes. Hopefully we can bring in bright, better student athletes as time goes, and compete and be successful at a level that maybe we haven't seen in years past.
How are you, I mean, because I will tell you, attendance at games seems to be great. There seems to be a lot of excitement for the Mocs athletics that we didn't necessarily have over the years. How is that developing here when you really, I mean, we are sort of in the shadow of some great big programs?
No question. I think a couple things. One, I think a wonderful hire was made when Chattanooga hired Russ Huesman. He's spent 4 or 5 years trying to bring the program back to a proud history that it once knew. And I think people are invigorated when they see that, number one. Number two, we are in the SEC country where sports seems to dominate everything. That helps us because I think the media has been very good to us as it relates to covering what we do, being interested in what we do. So that coupled with some of the momentum we have going in some of our sports, people are interested. And, we haven't had success here in football in a number of years to what the school once knew. And maybe the same can be said on men's basketball and some of our other sports. But recently, in the last 5 or 6 years, we've started to come along. And I think the combination of those things, there's a fever of wanting to, experience some success and everybody coming on board. We've done it before here. It's not like it's our first time. And so I think a lot of new energy, new blood, and some taste of success has been very healthy for us.
I tell you what, we're going to have to take a break, but when we come back, I want to talk about some specific sports and King football. I want to talk about that a little bit, and also how we're doing in other sports. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation about UTC's athletics programs. Welcome back to Metro Campus, the UTC Report. I'm Chuck Cantrell. We're discussing athletics at UTC with our guest, David Blackburn. Okay, David, let's talk about football. You're talking about Russ's hire was a big move for the athletics program. Is football like king? It certainly seems to be. Is it the linchpin of the whole program?
Well, I think it is, certainly in this part of the country, because football is kind of in the fabric of, what many folks in our region of the country care about and follow. It is, for one of the reasons, it's one of the first sports we start out with. It's the venue that holds the largest number of people. It seems to be covered the most, so it is the linchpin. I think you have to be very healthy in football for you to be healthy in an athletics department, because it does, not only from a morale standpoint, it's interesting and it invigorates people, but financially it makes you healthy. So it is, and Russ has done a great job, so we're really excited about this year.
He really has, and I will tell you it's interesting because we've seen schools like UTSU who have dropped football and now they come back to it. Is it primarily a financial decision? What makes football so important?
Well, I don't know why they dropped it, but I'll tell you, if you interview folks at ETSU now, the reason they brought it back was it's such a connection from the alums back to campus. People do care about it, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's true, and it is. I think it touches so many people. Again, certainly in this part of the country, it's something that people, they believe in, they follow, they see it every weekend, and it is. It's an attraction for so many people, and we hope that helps sell our campus.
Yeah. What about? I know winning is important, but how do you balance placing that emphasis on winning and at the same time making sure that playing the game respectfully and with dignity and integrity? That's the real important part. How do you do that?
It is. It's hard. And, we don't always maybe achieve in that. Sometimes we do things that we shouldn't do. Yeah. But for the most part, our student athletes do, our coaches do. I think you have to believe in that as it matters more about how you do things. We say winning is important, and we don't ever want to back down from that. But I think winning is more than just 20-19 on a scoreboard. It's how you behave, how we treat one another, how we act, how we dress, what's our appearance, it comes down to really more of the little things of how we treat people and how we treat ourselves. And if you do those things and you preach those every day, they take hold and they become important. And you can have class and character even when you're trying to beat someone in an athletics event. And so we don't always achieve that, but by and large we do, and that's what we want to teach.
And I have to tell you, from my perspective at UTC, I'm very proud of the fact that we are not a win at all costs. Right. You know, we want to win, but we have standards and guidelines, and I really appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other sports, because it's really easy to get hung up on football. Last year was a huge change year in basketball, both men's and women, and yet we had a great year. So what do you think's coming up for basketball?
Well, I think you'll see improvement again on both sides. I really believe that. Let's start with the ladies' side. It's been so strong here for a number of years. Wes Moore, who I don't know, I've talked to Wes, built an unbelievable program, and so it's a proud program. We were fortunate to hire Jim Foster, who is our now head coach, a Hall of Fame coach, as many know, and he's going to take that and I think do even you know, longer, stronger things, hopefully. So we feel very good there. On the men's side, we're young, and it's a transition year. We've got a young head coach who's energetic, passionate, but we think he knows what he's doing. And he came in and finished second in the league last year. I do think we have the ability to compete for a league championship this year. I don't know that we will achieve that, but we will be knocking at the door of that. And you know, that's what we want. And again, they care about competing and making sure we do things right every day. And so we're proud to have both those here, Will and Jim.
Speaking of it, I don't want to necessarily stick on football, but I can't get away from this. The team has decided they're looking at postseason.
Yeah,
they have absolutely every intention.
Well, it was a little unfortunate last year that we won the league or shared the title and didn't get into the playoffs. And I felt terrible for our guys for that. But you know, the lesson there is you got to win it outright to ensure that you go. Winning the league or sharing the league title first time in 30 years is a big deal. And so they're feeding off of that momentum and that energy, and confidence is a wonderful thing. Hope and confidence go a very long way, and they have both of those. Yeah. And so for them, the skill. They clearly have the skill. It starts with the skill. If you don't have the skill, it's hard to have hope and confidence. Yeah. But they do have the skill, and I think they believe they can do it, and that's what their goals are set on, is trying to win the league championship again. And then hopefully we'll be able to make the playoffs. Yeah,
to tell you, I was a student back in the 80s when we won it, you know, and we were doing really well. And even then, the excitement level wasn't what it is now. There's just a lot of excitement all over campus about what this team is doing, and not just this team, but all of Mocs athletics. And so all of you guys deserve a lot of credit for that.
Well, thank you. Obviously, campus has helped promote that. You're a part of that. You know, the media today, social media, our connectivity of people helps that. And, you know, there's a lot of sports covered on TV, so people do follow sports. And again, right, wrong, or indifferent, how we do sometimes dictates the positive or negative attitude. Yeah. So I do think the media has helped that, the connectivity, but we want to be a positive force for campus. We want to be one of the departments that helps market campus in a positive way. And if the students are energized behind it and we do well, we can achieve that.
Well, you're very much a front door. Coming to games for some folks is the first introduction to the campus. I want to ask about wrestling, because we are a powerhouse. And it's a sport that doesn't get as much attention, perhaps. So tell us a little bit about the tradition and the heritage of wrestling here at UTC.
Well, I had to learn it when I got here. I hadn't been around wrestling since about 1985, and so I'd gotten away from wrestling. I did not know, frankly, when I got here, how big it was. I knew Chattanooga area was big in wrestling, but I didn't know the tradition and history here. Perennially, we're a top 30 program in the nation from a wrestling perspective, and that's all schools. Okay. So clearly, it's a very competitive program, but the history here is so rich. Heath Esslinger, who's a young, vibrant, energetic, good person, you know, he knows how to recruit and coach, and the expectation level's there. So our students rise to that occasion. But the following we have here is what shocked me. We've got great donors, great fans. They're interested in it. It matters. And so it's probably our strongest sport year to year on a national level as anything that we have.
The fans, they'll come have a dinner party with candlelight and watch a wrestling match at the same time. We have to take another break, but when we come back, we'll conclude our conversation about Chattanooga Mocs. Hello, welcome back to Metro Campus. I'm Chuck Cantrell. David, I know that UTC Mocs fans, or students rather, do really well. The athletes do really well competitively, conference championships, games, but I know you're super proud of how well they do in the classroom. It seems like you guys just knocked the top off on GPA, graduation rates. Tell me a little bit about your academics program and the emphasis you place on that.
Well, I got to give credit first to my predecessor, Rick Hart. I think 5 years ago that became a real point of emphasis because it may not have been as much of a bragging point as it is now. So over the last 4 to 5 years, things have turned, and we've got a great academic support staff. But it starts with our coaches knowing how to go out and bring in people that can succeed. They've got to be competitive in the classroom. This is college. And so, you know, it takes a skill to know who can compete on the field, court, or mat, but also in the classroom. And they do a great job picking them. And then we service them well. We brag about this, but our graduation rate that we last reported was 67%, which nationally is very high. And our last GPA this past spring was 3.07 cumulatively. So those are very good numbers, and we're very proud of that.
And you've got some 4.0s. I mean,
several 4.0s, and yeah, I know obviously we have some lower 2.0s, but overall,
somebody has to make grades like us, right?
That's right. I can identify with those more. But when you look at a 3.07 overall of about 300 student athletes, that's pretty good numbers. And again, I give credit to our staff for bringing in the right ones that can compete in the classroom, and then Emily Blackman and her staff to academically support them with whatever needs that they may have.
What a great new facility they have too. I just saw it yesterday.
We're fortunate. We've been able to lean on some great supporters and donors to help us, fund that. And again, we're doing so well academically, we don't want to go backwards in that area.
You touched on this just briefly, and we don't have to necessarily get into it too deeply because it can actually kind of get a little bit overwhelming, but APR and NCAA regulations on academic success, we weren't doing so great, and now we're doing super.
We are. The benchmark's 1,000. If you can compare that to 100 on a test or a grade report card, 1,000's a perfect score. We have 17 sports. They evaluate all of our sports. 12 of our 17 had 1,000 perfect APR. So 12 of the 17 are missing 0 points. That's pretty astonishing, and so we're very proud of that. It's going to be hard to go much north of that, but if we can stay around 10, 11, 12, or 13, we're doing very well.
Yeah. And some of those sports may be some of the ones that don't get quite as much attention. So tell us a little bit about how we do in some of those areas.
Well, I'm glad you asked that. We do great in a large number of our sports. I'll start with men's and women's golf. Again, like wrestling, we're a national power there, and also like women's basketball. We're in the top 50 or 60 in the country of all programs. So those are two outstanding sports for us. Obviously tennis and track and cross country and soccer and volleyball. We're proud of all those, but it's not just football and the two basketballs. We've got a large number of student athletes competing very well, both in the classroom and on the court, field, mat, course, or whatever. So we're excited about.
I love the way you say field, mat, course. It just
That's
rolls
right.
off your
Yeah,
tongue.
I've learned the mat is important too.
Especially here in
That's
Chattanooga.
right.
Tell me a little bit, Dave, about how you have been working to build the fan base and get people excited about it. I know you've got some new marketing things going on, new marketing folks. How important are fans?
Oh, they kind of determine your success at the end of the day. Whether you're talking about fanship, friendship, or you're talking about supporters that actually give back, because we try to raise as much money as we can privately. But we started the C Club again. We reactivated that. That's a letter winners club that we had vibrant here up until the late 90s. And for whatever reason, it kind of went dormant, and we've reactivated that. We've had about 250 alums or letter winners in the last 2 weeks signed up already. So
that's awesome.
We're trying to reach out, starting with people that are close to the program and expanding as much as we have. But we have to have fans, donors, and supporters engage our program, or else we're not going to be very successful.
I tell you what, we're going to have to cut you off because I'm always running out of time. I could have you back in 2 or 3 more shows and never cover everything. If you'd like more information about UTC athletics programs or any other topic we discuss here on Metro Campus, you can always find it by visiting UTC's website at www.utc.edu or gomocs.com. That's all the time we have for this installment of Metro Campus, the UTC Report. I'm Chuck Cantrell. Thanks for watching.